Good morning, everybody. We're live here from the birdhouse, and it is getting into mid-January, so we've got an update for you, including some snowy owl reports. So we will get started as always. If you have any sightings, absolutely, we want to know what those are. If you have questions, you can throw those in the comments, or you can just say hi. Last week we talked about the Virginia rail that has been sighted in Mendon Ponds Park. And I know some of you guys have gone to see it, which is awesome, and it's still being reported there. So the location has been kind of back and forth between the Quaker Pond, which is a big pond there, and then the Little Bird Pond, where people have some bird feeders out there, and it's a place with a bench where you can feed birds out of your hand. It's been seen a lot there recently too. So that's always a good place to start before you make the trek to Quaker Pond, especially if it's a nice cold day, which it was last week when I went there. But here's a picture of the Virginia rail. So it's a small little bird that's kind of wading around in the water, foraging for some food. There's been up to 2 of them seen there at the same time. So it is still there to be seen if you are interested. Another bird that's been seen sporadically in that same area is the American bittern. There were some reports of it there last week, and then some also on Tuesday, it looked like too. So it's been hit or miss for people. I didn't get to see it when I was there, but I guess it had been there earlier in the day. So something else to be on the lookout for if you do go looking for that Virginia rail. And I was mentioning that I joined the Buffalo Audubon Winter Birding Challenge, which has been super fun, and it gives you different challenges and different birds to look for, including things like the American tree sparrow, which I was able to spot there at Mendon Ponds, which gave me a few points. And then surprisingly, when I was out there, I didn't expect to see a yellow-rumped warbler, but there was one hopping around. So you never know, even in the winter, what you might see around here. But what's really exciting is we hadn't had much snowy owl activity early in the season, but all of a sudden people are reporting them. Lots of people are making their reports of seeing them at the Finger Lakes Airport, which is down in the Finger Lakes area. But depending on where you live, you might want to go out further towards Buffalo or Niagara Falls. There's a lot of them being reported in the Niagara Falls area. So I would highly suggest you check out eBird and hit that explore button, type in snowy owl, and you can see where they've all been seen in your area. So if you're looking for a bird to go out to get your eyes on, the snowy owl has been around for people. And at the same time, short-eared owls. Some people are reporting the short-eared owls in the same spot as the snowy owl, especially at the Finger Lakes Airport. Also, they are being seen in Geneseo and Avon. So pretty reliable bird to go out and see right now is the short-eared owl. And depending on what time you go out to see the short-eared owls, if you get there early during the daylight hours, while there's still some birds of prey out there, you'll probably get your eyes on some northern harrier, like this northern harrier male or northern harrier female. So they're known to fly low over fields as they hunt. Also marshes, they were once known as the marsh hawk. They will fly low over marshes as they do their hunting. Another bird of prey that comes down here for the winter, just like the snowy owls sometimes do, is going to be rough-legged hawk. So this is another Arctic type bird that comes down here for our very nice winters, our nice warm winters for them. So keep an eye out for rough-legged hawk as well. And if you've got birds of prey in your backyard, could be something like the Cooper's hawk. I came home to a whole bunch of feathers in my backyard the other day, right by my bird feeder. I'm guessing it was probably a Cooper's hawk, although I've also seen a red-tailed hawk that's been hanging out in the neighborhood. But because it went after a bird, I am thinking it was probably a Cooper's hawk. So they are definitely out there in backyards, especially in the wintertime when there is some snow cover. It's harder for them to find their prey items, and so they are quite common in backyards at feeders. But as far as other birds to look for in your yard or at your bird feeders, of course, things like house sparrow, but then other sparrows like that American tree sparrow I showed earlier are around. People are reporting white-throated sparrows at their feeders, so keep an eye out for them. Even a few reports of the white-crowned sparrow still. And then dark-eyed junco, which is another type of sparrow. Look for them underneath your feeder as they hop around to eat the little seeds like millet or the sunflower or sunflower hearts. Lots of dark-eyed junco out there. And cardinals, beautiful cardinals, males, females, all grouped together in some big flocks have been reported. So they are definitely not feeling super territorial right now, but that'll change as we get closer to breeding season. European starlings are in their winter plumage, so they have that black beak instead of the bright yellow beak, and they are dark in color with lots of light spots. They don't migrate like some of the other birds that get lumped into the kind of blackbird category do. So European starlings aren't technically a blackbird, but they will sometimes flock together or have some of the same characteristics of blackbirds. But a lot of our blackbirds like grackles and the red-winged blackbirds have gone a little bit further south for the winter, but not the starlings. They stay around all winter long. Some other birds you can look for at your feeders are things like red-bellied woodpecker. Lots of them. They'll come to your suet feeders, your peanut feeders, and even sunflower seed feeders. Northern flicker love suet, especially in the wintertime. So don't be surprised if you see them coming to have a snack at your suet feeder. And even the large pileated woodpecker, if you've got a suet feeder large enough for them to cling onto it and land on it, they will absolutely come to your two backyards if you are lucky. Not going to be as common as things like the red-bellied woodpecker or the downy woodpecker, but people do get pileated woodpeckers quite reliably also. And then there's also the hairy woodpecker, which is looks like a larger version of the downy woodpecker, which are here all year round too. Some other kind of clinging birds that get grouped into that same category as the woodpeckers sometimes are going to be things like the white-breasted nuthatch. They absolutely come to suet feeders, peanut feeders. They love sunflower hearts. And then the red-breasted nuthatch as well, which is seasonally more abundant now in the wintertime. And some other birds you can look for at your feeders are going to be things like black-capped chickadee, especially if you have peanut pickouts out. The black-capped chickadees absolutely love those, as do the tufted titmouse. And then there's not only the house finches that we have here year-round, but purple finches, which, just like that red-breasted nuthatch, tend to be more common in the wintertime. Pine siskin is another bird to be on the lookout for at your Niger feeders especially. They look like a more stripier version of the goldfinch with that thin, sharp beak, and they do have a little bit of a yellow wash on their feathers. The American goldfinch, which we have year-round also, which comes to Niger feeders quite often, they're not going to have the streaking or the stripes on them that the pine siskin do, and you can see that they have more of a dark black wing, where the pine siskin does not. But both of them are coming to Niger feeders, and as we get on closer to the spring, that American goldfinch will molt its feathers and turn that bright gold again. And keep an eye out at your birdhouses, because even though it is not nesting season, sometimes birds do check out places that they can possibly nest in the future, especially things like the eastern bluebird here, or wrens. If you've got Carolina wrens, they might be checking out birdhouses, chickadees. So it's too early for them to nest, but sometimes they'll go in these houses to roost and stay out of bad weather, the snow, the rain, the cold. So if you have your birdhouses out still, you might see some birds popping in and out. They're not nesting yet, but they're just staying out of the elements. And there are some robins around, not a lot, not as many as we'll see in the spring and summer. But if they can find a food source, you might come across a flock of robins eating berries off of trees like this photo here. Same with things like cedar waxwings, which are here in the winter pretty reliably. So there are still over 100 different species, over 130 different species you can easily find here in the wintertime, not to even mention the things like the ducks, which I didn't get into today, but lots of birds still out there if you are looking to add some species to your list for the year. they are out there for you. So I think it's still early enough in the year to say Happy New Year again to everybody. And as you're out there birding, absolutely send us in your sightings and your photos. It looks like leash is on, and they say a bald eagle landed in the pine tree in front of my house yesterday. Now that's pretty impressive. It's really great to see more people are reporting bald eagles. More bald eagles are around. They were very scarce for a while, but they've completely rebounded, and they are now more common than they were 20, 30 years ago, which is fantastic. Steel Monkey is on, just wants to say hello. I look forward to Tuesdays and Saturdays. Love your show. We are actually also in the thick of organizing all of our events for 2026, both in person and online. So we look forward to being able to announce some of those soon. We'll have some special guests on the broadcast, and we'll also have some in store. And so be on the lookout for that. But until next time, until Tuesday, we are logging off. Have a great weekend and enjoy the birds, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.